Hello.
Hello.
Today we in the Slash you presented Google startups. Can you speak about startups? What you're doing here in the Slash?
Yeah, actually, in Google for Startups is trying to bring best of Google to different startups, trying to help them in different ways. And Slash is amazing even because there are so many different types of startups. I actually personally I work mostly with mobile gaming startups, mobile gaming and apps. That in general in the region that I work with, which is Central Eastern Europe, it's actually it's quite important role. I actually paid event. I just saw a lot of different ideas. I think it's very impressive that sometimes those ideas are done even by very young people. Sometimes you see actually really good ways to solve the problems that actually you have in the everyday life. Yeah. So, so I think it's actually good to have such ways to actually interact, to talk, and I think some of the talks that I even heard were really good as well. So I think it's actually a good place to be once you are a startup or once you're looking for an interaction with the startup.
What you're thinking about changes in mobile startups right now and in the future or in
You mean
the
in
past days?
in general in startups or in mobile gaming?
In mobile gaming, in startups, in mobile gaming.
So I think it's mobile gaming is quite competitive space. So it requires more and more knowledge, especially related to business. Not just it's not anymore. Okay, I would like to create a game that would like to play, or I would like to create the game and actually share that with the people around. It's actually right now it's getting way more professional, which means that you need to think, okay, what kind of game it makes sense for me to create. Uh, is that project too big for my team? Or it might be it's small in the way that will not be able to sustain the business. How actually I will promote that game, because we know that there are so many new games coming out of the every day. So in this case, there is more and more need to understand the data behind this game, trying to understand doesn't make sense to buy traffic for that, doesn't make sense to to publish that by yourself, or maybe it makes sense to actually just look for the partner that actually will be able to do it. So I would say as in many other cases, just mobile gaming is as the business requires just to answer many challenging questions, which means that you need to really get prepared for that. It's not okay, I will just wake up in the morning. It's great to create new game, yeah. So.
And what kind of business already used the mobile games, the games?
So I think that majority of the business just based on the entertainment. Yeah? So it's the some people just love to go to cinema, and just some people just love to to play the games. Sometimes they playing for free. Sometimes they are ready to pay for that as well, depending on the on the group. Of course, there are different types of game, and I think it's not used anymore that just games are played just by very narrow audience, young males. It's right now. It's actually even my mother actually plays some games. Yeah, so my son plays some games. So
Yes.
so it's it's very broad entertainment, and I think more and more often the games are actually used for education as well, because I think it's actually amazing way how to make something that is kind of difficult and challenging for the people, actually how to make it really fun. Yeah, so how to actually make the education learning really playful. Yeah, and then actually there was even some interesting presentations at the even at Slash that there are actually some thinking how some games can be actually used, for example, to keep with some boring stuff. Like for example, you are ill need to like exercise 30 minutes per day to,
Yes.
to keep in shape, and it's very boring. But actually, with usage of gaming, it can be very fun
Interesting,
and
yes,
interesting and fun
interesting.
stuff. Yeah, so I think it's like gaming is not. It's of course it's like huge part is related to entertainment, but it's not just entertainment anymore. Yeah, so it has like a lot of other use cases, and I think that's why it's so nice.
Yes, we work with different educational projects. That's why it's if you use gaming, it will be more interesting for person. It's more quickly for studying. That's why, of course,
Yeah, exactly.
gaming is nice.
Of course, there are always some challenges, like that you cannot go too far, but there are a lot of different research showing that games actually they help with keeping people's focus on something. They actually it has in many cases has positive influence on the people's health and then especially mental health. But of course, it can be related to some challenges like addiction and all that stuff.
And how Google helps to startups? For example, I startup, I want to work with Google. How I can do?
So that's why we have this Google for Startup as the organization that tries to help it. So on one side, if we are talking about general startup, there is like website startup.google.com where actually you can look for different solutions. Like for example, as the startup, you can get free credits for cloud, because actually a lot of those not just gaming but in general tech startups, they need like cloud to do some some predictions, some calculations, some like the stuff, or just have the place to actually execute some technical stuff. So even cloud is actually part of that. Then in many places we are actually organizing as the Google different conferences and sessions for startups. Even actually at Slash we had a lot of educational stuff where actually there was Google booth, and there were a lot of talk related to different topics related to startups, like coming sometimes related to more like vertical approach when I was talking about like mobile gaming, how actually as the mobile company you can actually grow your business. But then there were a lot of founder stories by the people whose company were supported by Google in different programs. So and then of course, if you are more mature startup, you can in many cases you can use like some paid solutions of Google to scale your business. For example, like advertising or like measurement tools. Because, for example, like if we talk about advertising, Google is a very powerful platform to actually share the information about your product and service like at any place in the world. Yeah. So, of course, depending on what stage as the company you are at. Yeah. So, starting from the very early stage, where usually you are focused more about how to get to know that stuff you will be working with, how to survive, to the sometimes even, for example, using some Google solutions to understand the customers better, like insights for search, or like other tools that help to understand how people are searching, what's the intent behind their search, till more like mature like promotion of the company, promotion of the product. Yeah? So even, for example, for gaming, we started to do something called Game Camp. That is a kind of conference happening every 3-4 months. That's free for developers.
Nice.
And it's very professional and deep knowledge related to mobile gaming. You just come and you have happening every 3-4 months in Warsaw, and you have very professional knowledge from from the best in the industry.
Nice.
So like there's many different ways how actually for startups trying to help the companies.
And how much companies from Russia, from Belarus, from Ukraine in Google startups you have?
So there are as I mentioned, there are like many different initiatives. So on one side there is this campus in Warsaw, but another on the other side, like Google is present in many different conferences, many different activities like, for example, Google is present at, if we talk about mobile gaming, Google is very often present at DevGam, is present at White Nights as well. Yeah, so in many cases, even by that the people from Google are there, like the startups can just approach them and ask for the advice, and that's one way of support. Then of course many of those solutions we are talking about are available for them as well. Like just recently the cloud credits, for example, were open for more countries, including some more Eastern European countries as well, like Belarus, for example. So.
And where's some difference from startups from, for example, Europe, Russia, and United States? Or
so I mean, like in my view, Russia is part of Europe as well. Yes.
Yes, but not all thinking about.
Yeah. So I think it's in general in that region. I think I just saw the research that, like, if we talk about CE and Russia, in general, there always was strong focus on like IT and engineering development. I saw the research that like every year there are around 350,000 IT graduates from CE, which is like those Poland, Romania, Ukraine, all those countries, which is like second place in the EMEA, and then around 500,000 from Russia, which is like first place in the EMEA. Yeah, so that's why I think for that reason, historically, always there was a lot of startups focused on IT and on tech, and I think I think there was like even some competition done some time ago, and I think Russia had like second place in terms of like having the best developers in the world. So I think historically a lot of startups coming from that region, they have some IT focus. That's why actually even mobile gaming is actually so strong in Russia. Like there are some amazing successes like Playrix is the example, but there are a lot of like IT companies. So I would say that sometimes the challenge, sometimes the advantage. But I think historically and still even, I think in all those countries, it's way easier to find a really good developer versus to find a really good business person. So I think that's sometimes the challenge, that in many cases people just approach the startup from technical perspective, not from the business perspective. So okay, they have the amazing product, they have the amazing service, but they have kind of hard time to understand how to market it, how to promote it, how to actually understand if it's really the market actually for that product and for that service. Yeah, so that's, I would say, is the biggest difference between like and Russia versus, for example, in US. Yeah, so that's I would say is the biggest difference.
Okay, thank you for the interview. Thank you for your coming here.
Yes. That was really a pleasure. Thank you.